It's a little short, sweet, and to the point, I think. But welcome everyone to we can finally say it formally. Mayday, we have a problem. But as the board got together today, we have found the permanent name for our organization, and it is Footprints Forward, because we're always looking to move forward and make sure that you continue to move forward with your family, because you know, as the saying goes, no matter how softly you walk, you're always going to leave footprints. So, my name is Zachary Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. I'm being joined by Stephanie. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Stephanie Samos. I work on veteran housing, and I'm also a cause entrepreneur with One Hope Wine.
And she's a great partner of ours every Wednesday, the first and third Wednesday of every month, and where we try to help smaller nonprofits. So thank you for being here, Stephanie. Mr. Z, you're up, brother.
Awesome. Great. It's always great to see you both, Zach and Stephanie, making such a great difference for our ignored veterans. Kudos to you and for getting the right footprints to move forward with this project. And I give you kudos. Speaking of kudos, we got the web detective here, traveling all the way from Brazil. And hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I'm also a consultant. That's trying my best to help our ignored veterans. Back to you, Zach.
Well, that's you guys ever want to see anything that Z can do? Go to communitypayitforward.us. He's the man with the plan. He's the man behind that website. And here in the next couple days, you'll be seeing our in many different locations. You will be seeing our landing page for our organization here. Mr. Trevor Gibbs, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And how about for yourselves?
We're doing great. You jumped in right at the beginning of the show, so glad to have you. Please tell everybody what you do.
Well, as it says on the screen, I'm the web detective. I actually help to protect your brand and your digital thumbprint primarily. Like Mr. Z, who builds wonderful websites, I help to protect them. I help to protect your online branding and help you with your marketing.
No, that is great. One of the things that Trevor and Mr. Z specialize in, and Trevor has a wonderful, wonderful program to help you make sure that everything is above standard, is inclusive websites. And making sure that your website is ADA compliant. Because believe it or not, that is a thing. So, Trevor, please tell people about ADA compliance on websites.
Well, when you consider 1 in 4 on average, people have some form of disability, and there's a huge amount of people that have no disabilities that have visual impairments. When they come to websites, if they're poorly designed, they just cannot navigate. And most business owners, when they're not thinking about this, they're sending more people away who are really at home spending money online with services that they need. Now, just to give you this in perspective of numbers, $250 billion was spent online by the disability community last year. There's only one other group that spends more. In fact, there's not a group that spends more. They're a set of influencers. They're called teenagers. They get their parents to spend the money for them. So primarily, we're actually looking at the largest amount of money spent online by a group of people who go to websites and find that the color contrast isn't correct, or I can't see the mouse icon very well, or for some reason the print is too small, or there's lots of flashing icons and videos going on. And if there was just a way for me to stop some of that and customize the viewing and my experience online, I would actually stay there and purchase those products or use those services. That's the importance of ADA compliance for a website.
yeah, you don't go and well, at least it wasn't in the past that you went and bought a car without actually seeing the car. I guess we do that now, but I don't know. I still wouldn't go and buy a car if I can't see what I'm buying online. I'm not going to make the purchase. So, um, we have one of our partners in this who has a very, very exciting announcement. And he had to leave because of a prior commitment. But our buddy Dennis, who Dennis Schrader, who was with us last week, and you will meet a lot more of him. Their first book is out, and what they do with these books is they tell the story of veterans who unfortunately took their own lives. And his first book is out, and it is called Silent Soul, the MM1 Alfonso Apadal Amos story. And I am so sorry. I know I butchered that name, but uh, we are so proud to help him out and share with you guys a little bit more information about this book. And as you can see down here in the corner, the great Stephanie has put a QR code, and I'm going to take and make that a little bit bigger right now. But you can purchase this book right now from Barnes and Noble, and you can get it by scanning that QR code. Okay. So it's in Barnes and Noble, but as of this morning, it was not on Amazon or anywhere else. But if you go to Barnes and Noble, you are helping them to create more books about the stories of these individuals that we're losing. Where this show is not exclusively about veterans, these stories are about those who served our country and made an end of life decision, and we lost them way too soon. That's unfortunately one of the things about suicide is that those who leave us way too soon. So we want to congratulate Dennis Schrader and all of the wonderful people working with him on the release of their brand new book. You will be able to find this QR code. We'll be sharing it throughout the show, and we'll be sharing it throughout the day. On all of our Facebook pages, and we'll get it into we'll get it into the website and more, and help him support, because what they're doing is some wonderful things. So, does anybody have anything that they would like to share that happened this week, or that you guys have heard this week, other than unfortunately we had quite a few more deeply disturbing incidents of some terrible mental illness? I know yesterday here the news that's coming out of that Texas hit and run, it's just awful. Um, it's something that's hard for any of us to understand. I don't think any of us can really comprehend what goes through somebody's mind like that. But you know, we need to try to make sure that we're taking care of each other. That's all I've got to say. Those were not immigrants that died; they were human beings, and that's the thing. And you know, where this show is about mental health, this is a perfect thing. There's got to be something that gentleman was showing that his rage. Look, we're in a difficult time right now. We all know that. Our politicians are driving us to rage. I don't think there's any question about that. Our politicians are laughing their asses off because they've got us fighting with each other and they're getting away with everything. Well, this is what's happening, and I think that we really need to start watching what other people are doing. Um, and we had. Did any of you guys have anything that you want to add to that?
Well, I'll just sorry. I'll just barge in, as Tupac Shakur once said, they always have money to feed the war, but not feed the poor. And I'll leave
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah. Yeah, and now my thing is, what war are they feeding? You know, they're in their own agenda, so it's a terrible thing. We did learn a lot last week when we talked to Dennis. We were talking to Dennis a little bit earlier, and I made mention that we got to hear that with his parents, the thought of his parents were one of the things that kept him from pulling the trigger. Our recorded interview that we're going to do now is with the guest that Stephanie, if you don't mind, I'd like you to introduce him. He joined us, and again, it was family that kept him going.
Right. So Tyreek Robinson is a longtime friend. We actually, went to school together as kids, and I don't want to blow the interview, but it is, you have to really dig deep, and I think that family is what kept him from moving forward and proceeding too.
So this is a recorded interview, and Stephanie and I were able to put this interview together. We were able to join Tyreek. He was actually able to join us. He ended up leaving the hospital right shortly after his wife gave birth to another child, or to a child, which is fantastic because that just shows his dedication to what we're talking about. So with no further ado, no further words, the interview is 35 minutes long. Please watch the interview, stick around. We'll talk about it a little bit more as soon as the interview is done. But here we go. This is Stephanie and myself with Tyreek. Please enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Zach Clayton and Stephanie Simons, and we are by a great friend Stephanie. I'm going to let you do the introduction because you and Tyreek have known each other a little while. So
yeah. So I'm really excited. Tyreek Robinson was a friend of mine from, like middle school, and we've kind of disconnected and reconnected throughout the years, but I thought it would be great for him to come on and share his story. So, Tyreek, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, tell us, Tyreek, you have a little bit of experience, and as you know already, the group that we have started is here to try to give as many resources to people who are contemplating taking their lives. And Stephanie reached out and said, you know what, you guys have got to get a hold of Tyreek. We've got to talk to him. You have a story to tell, and I would appreciate it if you would share with us this story.
Yeah, no problem. So I joined the military back in 2005. I didn't. Back in 2009, we were activated to go to Iraq for 6 months. I ended up deploying January 2010. I was there for about 7 months or so before I came back home, and that to me was an experience within itself. While over there, I was part of the honor guard that was over there. So we dealt with a lot of many casualties and things like that coming through our air base. And our air base over there was actually the air base for the military base. So
Okay. We're sorry, we lost you for. Okay, so for some reason, we're having problems with the sound. I'm going to try to do this again and pull it up again. Um, I was not supposed to have to do this, so I don't know what happened here. But let's try this again. Entire screen. Okay. We're going to try this again. So now, once again, this is a 30-minute interview, but hopefully you can all hear it this time. So, but here we go. We're going to do it again.
Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Smalls, and we are joined by a great friend, Stephanie. Because you and Tyreek have known each other a little while. So
Yeah. So I'm excited. Tyreek Robinson is a friend of mine from, gosh, like middle school. Kind of distant and reconnected here. I thought it would be great for him to come on and share his story. So Tyreek, thank you for being here.
So tell us, Tyreek, have a bit of experience and already the group that we started is here to try to give as many resources to people who are contemplating lives, and said, "What you guys have, Tyreek, we've got to talk to him." Have us read it, and I would appreciate it if you share with us this.
I joined the military back in 2005. I went for the for sure. I just looked at it as like, oh, this I could do that. Pay for school. I left in 2006 and everything like that. When I came back, it was just a National Guard stuff, just a couple tours, like stuff here and there, nothing really like fighting or anything like that. Back in 2009, we were activated to go to Iraq for 2010, where I was there for about 7 months or so before I went back home, and that to me was an experience within itself. While over there, I was part of the honor guard that was over there, so we dealt with a lot of come through our areas. Was actually for the military. So
Okay.
anytime
We lost you for just a second.
Yeah. So our base was basically the hub for anybody transitioning through overseas over there. They would stop by our base and kind of go out. So anytime there was, like I would say, a casualty, they would come through our base before going to Dover Air Force Base before going back to their house, going back to their home to be their ones or remains. And interesting enough, I did for the honor guard. I did about 5 of those before I couldn't really do anymore mentally. Once I found out that these kids, so to speak, were between the age of 18 and 23 years old, and they were all suicides over there. I think at that point in time, my opinion is that, the Army at that time, like I was in the Air Force, so like I had a lot of friends with the Army, like I was spoke about them. They were being, so we have like an 11-month deployment, and then they were getting extended, and being away from your home at that time, being away from your family on those holidays, that kind of wears and tears on people. And that was just life. Friend who I probably out there. He was supposed to have been like 11 or something that still kept extending to where stuff with that long. So you're there for holidays and things. it really, you know, these young children, so to speak, you know, kind of giving their lives at that point in time. And, you know, when you're in the military and you're hearing stories back at home, they're like, hey, everything's fine, it's good. And it didn't seem because it wasn't, you know, like I said, we were still sending bodies home, and it wasn't a good feeling to me. You know what I mean? So personally, that's when the military really turned, and like for me, it became more of a dislike for like government politics and more love for the people of America, so to speak, because it was like I would love to fight for them any day. They can call me right now, you know, being that I just had a kid, doesn't matter. I would go. But when it comes to the government side of it, because they didn't really seem to care about, you know, us as everybody who kind of that I saw. I can't speak on anything that anybody else is, but from what I saw, it was very, 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 very tough at that time. So then I came home, like I said, about 7 months later. They did have some programs that were trying to help veterans that just came back kind of transition into like normal life, I guess. So normal lifestyles and things like that. And for me, I was messed up. I was really mentally, I was really up. I had PTSD when I came home. I had a lot of like, you know, issues, so to speak. I went to the VA. I had tried to get all this help. I saw counseling and stuff like that. And they did help out when I'm just coming to say to them, hey, listen, whenever the compensation part of it, they were like, oh, no, it's not for you. And I just thought that was kind of my perfect time before I went to Iraq. You know, they came home, I had all those issues. So I just kind of just barreled through that and kind of just focused. And I did see about a year issue to my own life. So to speak, was going through all the inner side demon that I was kind of doing. The difference between myself and somebody who actually takes their life past the point that I was getting to. So like, you know, for me, it was like a dark moment where it was like, tell you I'm not that big of a religious between a devil and an angel like around your head. You know, fortunately for me, I would just like grasp back to it and just call help. Like I called the cops and say, hey, listen, y'all gotta come. I'm about to do, you know, get help, you know, so to speak. So they was able to do it for me, and I was able to, you know, get more and more counseling. And I didn't think counseling would work, but let me tell you, it doing self-care, because I didn't really care. Like everything done was for other people and other things, and it kind of put yourself in the background. So which isn't good. It's not good. You got to be able to love thyself before you can go love others and stuff like that. So once I learned that, because hey, I do want to be here. I do value my life, and you know, and I'm just glad that I was able to make that choice then to kind of be here today. And that's why now I try to help out. I looked it up at the time. It was like 50,000 homeless veterans that throughout the United States. I said, hey, but if I can feed one at a time, to me that would be helpful. So I believe it was like 2 years ago. I made all these meals for somebody that was able to give me like so to speak housing for that I didn't really have to go into that, and I basically then I go to New York to 3 different looks to get these guys excited. It was like, well, you told me New York to feed us. I was like, you deserve it. You know what I mean? Like it just felt good. The next person, and for them to know that somebody actually cared, you know, for the team they put, the sacrifices that they did, whether if it had 1 year, 20 years, whatever the case is, to me just joining, you know, because at the time when I joined, it was the 1%. So that to me was big enough, you know. So and I'm to help. So anytime you guys need anything, I'm always here.
You know, Tyreek, one that you and I have a chip on is I belong to the honor guard here in Colorado. It's the American honor guard, but it's we motorcycles. We for the funerals of those who have fallen, those who have served. Hearing that you were just like me. I have, and as we were joking earlier, with Stefan. Introduced us to the organization that helped you out, and it's Hope for Veterans. You Hope for Veterans for you that was different than anybody else.
Yeah, actually, Hope for Veterans. I was at the time. I was transitioning, trying to find. I actually had just ended a relationship, had needed housing basically. And it was an issue of the security here in New Jersey, just by means. So I was looking. I was like, there has to be an organization that can help out veterans in some way, shape, or form. So I came across them, and they assigned me a worker who had my own. I had my own caseworker, and what she did was she basically took all my information down, and I found in and then the place they basically gave the security deposit, and then they paid the first 3 months of my rent. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. This is great. But it didn't stop there. They also bought like a bed. They bought me a bed once I got there. And they also paid for my parties. So it was very fun because for me, I needed that place in order, because I had a daughter at the time, and I needed a place to be able to bring my daughter in a time of need, and they definitely, I was able to, get back on my feet thanks to them. So that's what they did for me, and I thank them every time I can that, I appreciate someone's out.
So it looks like they've got daughter. How did they help you not maintain strong word, but maybe strengthen the relationship with your daughter?
Oh, it was very strengthening because the way that it was set up between, me and her mother was I need to have a place of my own, basically, to take care of my daughter. So I didn't lose any time thanks to that program. It was a cap, and me and we shared together, so it definitely kept our bond together at that point in time.
Oh, this is great. And we're looking at we're sharing the website right now with people, and it looks like they've got different sections on here. They've got community, veterans, mental health, and housing. So it just looks like they do a lot of things, and that's fantastic. What are some of the, Tyreek, that you focus on now that you're when you say that behind you, or do you say that you still have work to do?
I believe the whole progress is ever 100% buried. I feel like there's always times where something brings it back. Like it's hard for me to watch certain war movies and stuff like that. Like it just always brings me back to certain scenarios, and it's kind of like, I just live that moment of darkness I had to say I'm not going back there to kind of keep forward. You mean, and I know that there's that depend on me to be. So it's down, but I don't believe 100% out. So I always kind of keep, like I said, in that place that I never ever went back to.
Stephanie?
Before we were live here, you were also mentioning how you were made friends locally, for youth kids, and share a little bit about kind of what you started because you felt need?
Yeah, a buddy of mine, we were out helping these kids like that couldn't really afford to do certain things when it comes to like youth athletics and things like that. And the reason why we harp on, me personally, athletics kept me out as a kid, so it always kept me doing something. My mom was always, you wanna do this, you wanna do that, you better, you know what I mean? So it was always a way to say, all right, I want to stay forward so they can offer themselves and help out. Those times. So started this organization. What we did was we took a whole bunch of training. We kind of kept it going. And then we brought them down to a city for a tournament, down to a junior tournament. We got like this big, built all this camaraderie. These kids are still, calling it me. They're in high school doing this, and they were like 10, 11 years old for them, and they're still texting me, "Hey, Coach Tom." I was like, that to me is a feeling is good, and see kids actually get better. So for time they didn't even know that they had it. They you are able to exploit them and do that. That's a great one. So we got big go with it, and easy, maintain your board and participations and everything like that. Like we go out, we do events. I intertwine it with my cooking. So we try to do whatever we can to kind of raise money to be able to help these kids out. And anytime that, if opportunity presents itself, we give out more help.
Well, this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but if you guys want to learn more about either one of Tyreek's nonprofits, join us on the first Wednesday of June because Stephanie, again, assist Tyreek through our community Pay It Forward One Hope Wine fundraiser. Anytime that you make a purchase, support profit organization. So we are extremely excited about that. Tyreek, what was the biggest that you found helpful, and what was one thing that you pass on to others who are sitting there, whether their life being
I would say there should be no reason. I know it's hard to say when you're dealing with suicide because throughout the military we do a lot of suicide awareness classes and everything like that. Anything else when you're doing any type of training online or in the classroom is way different than the real life experience. When something's happening at that piece. It's kind of hard to kind of dig deep, but you kind of got to know like there's always a reason to stay here. And my mother, we didn't have the closest relationship, growing up, but she called me like, "Hey, it's worth life, coming back from this, and I know, like I said, I know it's hard, to bring yourself out of it. And actually, when I went to go see help, the counselors were saying like, "We're surprised, you made it through here, and they were really interested in knowing." Said, for some reason, I just had to dig deep and realize like, I'm just gonna get better. Like I'm just gonna go up. I feel like I'm at rock bottom. If you're at that point, you feel like you're at rock bottom, but you can only progress, and it only gets better. You know what I mean? So you got to get these challenges in your life. So that's how I took it. Like, hey, I'm gonna get these challenges right now. I'm gonna just bear through it because I'm meant to be here for a better purpose.
I love the way that you stated that if you're at rock bottom, you can only go up. You can but what are some of the things that that you still practice today when you start to feel them?
It's kind of funny. I was not a big leader that,
Yeah.
but I find a lot of joy in a lot of things that I do. So like when I get into these like meditations or things like that, helps calm me down, soothes me out, whether anything that kind of keeps me busy to where I'm not about something that makes me happy. Because like the gym was very big for me, because it's hard to be upset and being, like it's hard to just be with a pout on your face and as you're lifting weights or you're running. It's like you get moved, so I think to constantly motivate myself. And now, being that, that was years ago, now, especially now having kids, it becomes a whole nother aspect, because now when the kids are born, more for them and not for us. So I started to realize that when you're committing that act, it's a very selfish act in a way, because there's a lot of people out here, there's a lot of loved ones and everything. It's a selfish way to do it. So I just try to stay away from mindset and try to think less like, let's not be selfish to these kids, because they didn't ask to be here. You brought them into this world, so we got to be better. So I just think of little things like that to kind of keep me motivated.
Well, I just asked Stephanie to do something because I think this is a personal thing. So I think Stephanie.
Well, first I want to say congratulations.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No, it was I just because we are expecting new to our family pretty soon. Our little group here pretty soon. But about your kid, Tyreek, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on at home with your new baby boy.
I gotta make it out because I gotta make the show. I'm not rescheduling. I'm gonna make it happen. If I had to find a quiet room in there, I would have did it. But we was gonna make it happen. So thanks again.
How would you say your progress is? Like, did your daughter kind of go on this with you?
No. And the reason being because I never want her to see me in that state of mind. And to me, my daughter, her father should be the strongest person she knows. So I try not to show any type of weakness around her. And that's what hurt me the most when I went through it, because that wasn't in my mind at that time. And then when I kind of made it out of the hospital and everything, and I was like, hey, my daughter's probably going to make it better. It made it probably like 50 times worse. I felt like I was going to let her down. Like I was going to do something that she didn't have, and she loves me to death. Like, so it's like, there's no way that, I would have been able to, so it definitely, I don't let her see any of that, or, she won't know that she's old enough when she asks.
I can understand that. And I love that you said, that you have such love for the people to go and do it again. Mm-hmm. You would go all over again. And just knowing how far you came and through and out the other side, and you're still willing, love for the people, not so much the other people, but that's incredible. I think one thing's Tyreek and before is like that whole mental struggle with the devil, angel, and really having to dig deep and get through that on own. Is there anyone that kind of stands out to you that kind of helped you get to that point? Was it the counseling? Was it, if somebody might be listening in and say, hey, look, I know what he's talking about through it. Was it finding that particular activity that motivated, like the gym or a hobby or something? Where would you direct them if somebody was like, man, where do I go right now? Like, how do I get through this like he did?
I would say 90% was the counseling. I go to those counseling sessions week by week, and 1 hour at a time. Like I just look forward to it. And my first session, I was like, yeah, I don't know where to start. And halfway through that session, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like just giving it out there. And I was like, that felt good. It felt good to kind of like tell somebody, talking to somebody all the time, they don't really have to give you any feedback. Sometimes just listening is good enough. So, just me being able to talk when you feel like you can't really talk to anybody, because anybody that's going through some type of, well, I would say me, I can't say everybody, but when you're kind of in that state of mind, like talking to somebody is not always the easiest thing to do, because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to feel like you're putting a burden on anybody, anything like that. So you go talk to somebody you don't know. And I found someone genuine that really was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna listen. I got you. Like, this is what it is. And I took those steps, and everything she said to do, I did. Like I said, with the self-care and everything like that. And it was just one step at a time. And that's what I did. And I just felt like that was the route.
I'd like to ask you real quick. You mentioned that your mom and yourself, you didn't have the greatest relationships. Has that strengthened through this, or are you guys still you guys closer, but it's still not?
It was. I won't say it's closer now. I don't think that she knows the whole in depth of where I was under the mental standpoint. I was more close with my grandmother. She was kind of the one that kind of raised me, so to speak. So it wasn't that really didn't bring it any time closer at them. But I mean, we're better now. Not 100% probably where we should be, but it's better because she wants to deal with grandkids and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I've got for you, Tyreek, I wanted to do a little bit. We're talking about your daughter. How difficult was that to hide from your daughter?
Very, 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 very. And honestly, I think that also might have helped speed up the process, because I just knew I just had to be good for her. Like I just knew that I didn't want her to look at it and have any doubts ever. I never want her to say, hey, listen, this guy, so it was very difficult. So I made sure like I was always making progress one day at a time. So when I did have her, it was regular scheduled programming, and then when she was there, it was always rehabbing, getting yourself back together and getting yourself back to life state line.
Stephanie, do you have anything else, or?
Yeah, I do. Well, that's really inspiring, and I think the way that you explained it really makes a lot of sense. And Daddy's little girl will motivate him, right? But I know you mentioned the meals for veterans earlier, and I know that you had said started a nonprofit around that. Is there certain times a year that you focus on for that? Is it can you talk a little bit about that? And, if somebody wanted to jump in and participate, or that maybe that's local to you,
Right. So
talk a little bit about that.
So what I did was I'm trying to do it typically around the Thanksgiving time. If I can go, every 6 months or so, fine with me. Every 3, that's cool. But I kind of wanted to start there. I would tell you, it was rough. Let me tell you. I believe I fed 300 veterans. I had all these meals in my living room all over the place, and I'm packing these things up because it was me by myself. I took off from work. I rented a van. I had to help out. Like I had put something out there, and I didn't want anybody, because I don't want people to think I'm a money grab. Like if you want to help, I was saying, hey, there's a local shop, right? You could do being good. And deliver. I really wasn't there for any type of money. I just wanted to feed the veterans. So people did it, and I thank them to and driving around. And I actually got to the last place, and they had more veterans there than I had food for, because they didn't tell me that. And I ended up DoorDashing them some more food. I said, hey, no worries, you guys are good too. And like I said, and when I got home, it was no better feeling than what I felt like that. Yeah. Everything was like, oh, it's nothing. Like, you won't see a lot of people blow it up, but for me, it felt so good to know that somebody got fed that day that might have not had meal that day. So it felt good. It felt good.
We had we did a homeless veteran, or just a homeless at one point in time, Thanksgiving as well. And what we did was we took and we had people donate the food, as you said, and we had local restaurants. Like we had the Tilted Kilt that was here in Greeley. We cooked the turkeys for us, you know, we had like different turkeys. We had Chili's donate the vegetables and apple, you know, and they all prepared it. And so we went and we took and we got set up at the little South apartment here in Northern. And the only problem that we had was 15 below. Nobody was going to be out of the house. And so we're sitting there. What we ended up doing on that day was wrapping up all the food, and we took it to the homeless shelter, and they served. So I mean, it worked perfect on exactly where we wanted it. Yeah, it is kind of funny too how sometimes, you know, and you plan and you think and all of a sudden something just throws that wrench into it, you know. Brother, man, I got to tell you, all in the world for you, you doing the DoorDash and making up the extra. That's innovative, and it's. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I want to thank you very much for introducing us to Community Hope. And once again, folks, this is one of the many places out here that we hope to introduce you to. And if you know somebody who's struggling, don't wait. Tyreek, how much longer do you think that you had before you would have tried something?
I don't know. It was very thin. It was really on thin ice. Like I was at my end game. Like it was, you know, it was there. It was there. Like it was there. Like I was there. You know, I thank God that at that point in time I was able to pull myself back, and able to call for help. And you know, they came and they did whatever they had to do. And then you realize too, like when they took me to the hospital, and they put me in, I didn't really understand what was going on because I felt like they drugged me or something. I'm not really sure, because it was like real like drowsy. I remember somebody next to me, and I woke up the next morning, and I'm like, "What time is it?" And they wouldn't tell me the time, and then I'm like, "I gotta go to work," you know. And they was like, "No, you're not going anywhere." And they kind of being in that process also helped me realize, like, is this really where you want to be? And, you know, this really what you want to do, like, and stuff like that. And, you know, my family took a hit too, to be honest. Like, I really felt like I came in and talked to them or whatever the case was, and they put a lot of guilt on their own shoulders, which made me feel even more bad because I'm like, that's another thing I don't want to do. I don't want no one to feel bad for me or whatever I'm doing. So, you know, I kind of had to really, really dig deep when it came there, but it was close.
I know that this is bringing up a lot of things, a lot of bad memories, but I want to commend you on your strength, and I want to commend you on your story. I know that you know, due to a personal family loss, I know the way that families can still feel that way. My mom still feels guilty about an incident that happened just a few short months ago, and it's something that, you know, it's really it's hard to tell somebody that you can't lay this on you.
Right.
It's really hard to tell somebody that you can't lay this on you. You know, they kind of got to work through it, but I know it's difficult.
Right.
Again, I want to let Stephanie have the last word, but I want to thank you very much for joining us and really sharing your story with us, because I think that as I've said before, there's no way better to prove that there's hope out there than to hear from people who have found hope. So, Tyreek, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm looking forward to working with you at the beginning of the month of June.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you again for having me.
Tyreek, thank you so much for sharing. You know, as Zach was repeating your quote before, I was also writing it down, that when you're at rock bottom, you can only go up, and you are an inspiration, and you showed that. So thank you for being here and sharing your story. I'm looking forward to diving in more to that you're doing in June. And just thank you for your service and everything you've done.
All right, thank you so much for having me. And if you guys ever need people to talk, I got buddies that, I'm there that we still talk to this day. Like I said, that was, we're going on 13 years now. And I told them when I first talked to you about it, I said, hey, listen, if there was somebody that you want to share your story, and he said, absolutely, anything you need. So if you guys ever really listen to my talk, I always got one or two people that want to, be able to share their story as well. But I think hearing somebody's story, hearing somebody talk about it is actually a good thing to do, so always there.
We will take you up on that offer. I will guarantee you we will take you up on that offer, because this is a story that's not going to, without work, it's not going to go away easy. So, but we thank you. Hey, everybody, once again, you can get a hold of Stephanie by using her link tree right there, Stephanie. Simone's on Linktree, and so please, anything that you want to know about One Hope Wines or any of the other work that she does, just hit her Linktree right there, and stop freezing on me. And you can go to my For My Card and just underscore Clayton. So that's formycard.net. Zach underscore Clayton. Tyreek, thank you so very much, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
So what do you guys think? Stephanie, I know that you and I were there for it. So Z, let's go to you first. What are your comments?
Truly an inspiration, working at DoorDash and setting an example of doing whatever it takes to get your footprints moving forward.
I love that story, and it's because of my own experiences, trying to feed people who need a little bit of help. And him talking about him being, going to a DoorDash and just to feed people. That's inspiring. One of the things that I wrote down, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. He made mention and that he called the cops on himself.
Wow.
I know that right now, 20% of all emergency calls are for mental health reasons. 20% of all emergency calls for right now, at this point, are cases that are mental health. Is that low?
Low as in?
I mean, should that actually be more? Should we be thinking that, we need to, my thought is that, what, a lot of things that are going on, and with everything that's going on, I'm almost thinking that number is low, and it should be a lot higher. People should be paying a little more attention to what's going on around them. It's sad to say, and I hate saying that. And I say this full right out. I don't think that this is something that, I hate to put this on the police and on the medical field that we do this. But the thing is that if it's going to help keep people alive, I think that number is going to have to go up some. I think that, we need to make sure that if we notice somebody's having a problem, we don't wait. I used to joke around all the time as a kid. Oh God, here comes Zach. Dial 911 and wait, for him to do something stupid. But now it is. Trevor, what did you? Do you have any thoughts? Other than my computer really needs to be hardwired.
Yeah, I was going to say, your computer needs hardwiring. Mind you, so do you at times, Zach. So, no, it's right. The thing about waiting for somebody else to do something, it's never going to happen. So take the presence of now is the moment. And there's never a problem calling 911 twice.
Yeah.
You know, it just means that your problem is actually half because there's two people taking care of it. So I think we really should be a lot more proactive. We shouldn't be afraid of looking out to say, hey, how can I assist? How can I help? Do you need help? Because sometimes, you know, we can overstep the mark, but it's say, would you allow me to help? Is this the right time to help? Be offering some help? And sometimes just the way you ask the question is enough to get the response. Actually, yes. Because most people always want to say no when somebody's offering. Say, is this a good time for me to give some help? And people say, well, maybe yes. You know, do you want me to call 911 for you now, Zach? No. That's rather drastic. You're offering a solution before you know what the problem is.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. That's a beautiful statement. You know, I mean, and I like the way that Trevor, you said, you know, don't worry about calling 911 twice, because imagine if you don't call twice at that one point in time, you might be calling the second time for them to come pick someone up because they've taken their life.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, 911, they're there. They're there for a reason. They're there to make sure that people are taken care of, you know, and I think that it's important that we remember that. But I really do. I believe that it's so important that, you know what, no matter how many times you have to check in on somebody, if you don't check in on them, it could be the last time you have to. And you know, that's the worst thing that can happen. Um, we are, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I think that this is again, I love how um and just a real quick recap from everybody, but the last 2 weeks, I think that one of the important things that I've pulled out of this in the last 2 weeks: family can help. Okay, family can be a deterrent. Stephanie, what would be something that you've really learned the last couple of weeks?
One thing that Tyreek said that really took me at the heart was, when he was talking about his daughter, that her father should be the strongest person she knows. So I really
Yeah.
think that, he talked about continuing to try to improve himself and be better. And I think that it was really for her. So just having her in mind. But you saw that he was also pouring himself into positive activities, similar to Dennis, with coaching those kids that were really, inspiring him, and their progress was inspiring him, and also using his culinary skills to be able to cook for the veterans and, deliver meals, and feeling like he was doing something good. And of course, it was a little choppy on my end, but when he got to the part where he was talking about getting to his last stop and there were more people there than what they had told him there would be, that's when he called in DoorDash because he didn't want anybody to go hungry. And it's just like, so good, but it's fulfilling to him. And I think that doing those things and focusing on the positive is really what's most important.
Yeah. Z, before we go, you had a wonderful announcement of somebody who's doing some wonderful things.
Oh, that's a nice way of putting it, but I do want to just coattail on what Detective Trevor and Stephanie said. It's all about making that impact and being proactive. We have the opportunity to let life dictate how we react to things, but we have the choice to provide a positive influence, even if it means calling 911 twice or getting backup to create that positive impact. So I think it's great. And I'm delighted that I was able to introduce you both to Dennis Schrader. Definitely someone that you can talk to when it comes to honoring our brethren. So I do want to give a big shout out to, besides everyone here, Zach, Detective Trevor, and Stephanie, but also Dr. Helen Grando-Bosell. She is the CEO and founder of CE Pharmacy Services, and she provides the important information for pharmaceuticals. She is a U.S. Army veteran that provides the resources to our veterans, and it's really hard for veterans these days, to my understanding, to get the proper treatment for their PTSD and their pain medications. And unfortunately, there are some individuals that are ruining it for our veterans by doctor shopping, getting 180 tablets of oxycodone, while there are veterans that are well deserving of these medications. So she's providing the right drug information for people who really do need it. Can I mention her website, if that's okay with you?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
If you'd like to learn more about CE Pharmacy Services, it's www.cepharmacyservices.com. And I'll put in the chat if it does help. She's a huge advocate of helping our veterans, and she does understand a thing or two, like everybody here, about PTSD. So I will put that in the chat for everyone's convenience.
Does that look about right? That doesn't look right to me, but
that looks right. Yeah,
okay.
CE Pharmacy Services. And thank you for allowing me to plug her in. I'm hoping to get her on the show because she has a lot to say about, let's just say, someone bigger than us in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to talking to her. Trevor, any last thoughts?
Oh, plenty of thoughts going through. I don't know.
Any last thoughts that are worthy of hearing?
Oh, well, in that case, no. In fact, there's always a lasting thought. It doesn't matter what the task is or what it is. Never feel that you're alone. Just actually reach out and ask for advice or help. Neither of them actually make you a lesser of a person, but it actually makes you stronger when you have knowledge. So asking for knowledge makes you stronger.
Wonderful. That was fantastic. Hey, everybody, again, if you know somebody who is out there working hard to help people, please get a hold of us right here. You can contact me at communitypayitforward.us. Once again, that's communitypayitforward.us. You can always give me a call at 970-909-0751. 970-909-0751. Our goal is to make sure that everyone has a place to go, because none of us heal the same. We all have our own different way of doing things, and what works for me might not work for you, but it does work for me. So that's what's important. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you for the introduction to Tyreek, and thank you for the wonderful, wonderful help interviewing him. Mr. Z, as always, brother, much love. Thank you for everything you're doing. And Web Detective Trevor, thank you, sir, for joining us this weekend. And I'm really looking forward to continue work that you started trying to help out charities and continuing to make a difference in their lives, because these people started from a bad place. Charities generally don't start because somebody just has an epiphany. Generally they start with a loss or something tragic. So they're always a place of need.
I'm happy to be on the same path with you, and you're so right, Mrs. Clayton. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, everyone. We hope to see you again next week when we come back and we have another show. We're looking to bring on guests who have anything to do with suicide. So again, please contact us if you know of anybody. But for this week, we're all signing off. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.